What's going on YouTube? It's your boy Barber Jase. Welcome back to another video. Hope you guys are having a great day. Shout out to all my new subscribers and shout out to all the UK barbers who will be back to business next week. And big up to Bossio who reacted to my videos last week. That was crazy, man. Appreciate all the support. Let's get into the video. Let's go. I got my guy Harry in the chair. We're going for a low skin fade. We're cutting the top. He likes the length, so we're going to disconnect the fringe and we're going to connect the sides and back. So starting sectioning out a horseshoe, separating the top and the sides. Using a couple clips to clip it out the way. The back was pretty short already, so I kept the horseshoe quite high at the back just to separate the top. And we're going to start off with some block graduation. This technique is going to help build up some weight and it's going to create a nice shape for you to work with. Also, by clipping the hair out the way, it allows you to focus more on the shape without worrying about the length on top. As you can see at the back, I'm over directing it down, which gives me more weight. On the left side, I pull it straight out and I cut it horizontal. Checking the shape just to make sure both sides are even and adjusting it if I need to. So here at the back, I'm taking diagonal sections just to build up more weight, doing a bit of graduation, just to check the shape as well to make sure the bottom is actually shorter than the top. So after this step, the shape of the haircut is done, the base, the foundation is set, and you're ready to move onto the top, or you can even dry it and do the sides first. It's up to you, but I prefer to cut the top, so lowering the chair down so it's easier for my body positioning. So I'm cutting right in front of my chest. Body positioning is really important. Make sure the chair is not too high or too low. So sectioning out my profile line. As you can see, the fringe is slightly shorter, so I'm going to maintain the length on the fringe and I'm going to make the rest of the length slightly shorter than the front, so slightly rounding my fingers and elevating it slightly up on the fringe. So after the profile line is done, my next section is going to be parallel to that on the left side of the profile line. And as you can see the guide right behind it, right there. And I'm elevating the fringe up slightly again, and I'm just following that guide from behind. The reason why I'm cutting in vertical sections is that I can control the length on the fringe. I can elevate my fingers higher or shorter. This is better for longer lengths on top if you want to focus on the shape vertically. After the left side of the profile line is done, I'm going to move on to the right side, and following the same shape, following the profile line from the middle, I'm going to cut to my guide. So now I'm just cross-checking my layers, pulling the hair up in horizontal sections, and as you can see there's a slight peak in the middle which I just round off. Now cutting the back, following the same sectioning pattern, keeping it vertical, but I'm just extending the profile line all the way down, rounding my fingers, pulling it 90 degrees until the hair is too short to cut. My guide should be right there where my second knuckle is. I should also have a guide from behind, and I use the tips of my scissors and I cut it round. After the top is done, I'm going to part it straight down the middle, and I'm going to pull and over direct everything down, and I'm just going to point cut a slight shape to it, leaving the fringe nice and long. So my fingers are at a slight angle, and then after that just taking the tips off the fringe before I style them up. So now using my hairdryer and my vent brush, I'm going to style the hair into position before I start the fade and the sides. I'm going to go more in depth with styling and blow drying in a future episode of basic barbering. But guys, the scissor work is done. Hope you guys are enjoying the video, but make sure you hit the like button, comment down below and subscribe. We are almost there at 10k subscribers. It's crazy. I'm gonna do a mad giveaway when we hit 10k. Let's go, guys. But I can't explain how much I appreciate everyone that's watching. Thank you again. But anyway, let's get back into the video. I'm clipping the fringe out the way before I start using my number 3 to remove the weight and to create a nice shape which should blend nicely into my block graduation. As you can see, towards the top where the parietal ridge is, I use my comb and I feed the hair into the clippers, which helps me build up a bit of weight and it stops me from going too high. So now inserting the placement line using a magic cordless with a ceramic blade. I'm going to drop the placement line from the back and I'm going to connect it into the sides. That's how I usually do my placement line. We're kind of going for a low fade as we want to maintain that weight on the sides, but he also wants to see a bit of skin, so we're going as high as we can without affecting the shape. The shape of the haircut comes first before the fade. So now using my Andis Supra ZRs with the outliner blade to clean up all the hairs below that placement line to make sure it's nice and clean. This clipper is basically like a massive detailer with a lot more power. If you ever find the blade getting too hot, just lower the speed of the clipper. Now using the Babyliss Pro foils just to clean up the hairs around the hairline, keeping it nice and low, natural. As I was using the foils, I could see his skin was going slightly red, but nothing to worry about. It did fade away after 5 minutes. But just be careful, guys, not everyone's skin can take the foils. But anyway, guys, the technique I'm going to show you on the fade is actually the easiest way to fade. So let's start off putting in that 0.5 guideline. This is how I used to teach a lot of my ex-students, so shout out to you guys if you guys remember this. So yeah, I'm pushing up that 0.5 placement line, taking it up about a centimeter or half an inch. As you can see, my client Harry, he's got a really naughty occipital bone which I had to be careful about. So straight after that 0.5, I'm going to fade out that line using the 0.25, kind of like with my lever halfway open. And I open it slightly if I need to, or close it a bit more if my zero line is not going. I'm keeping this fade quite tight. I'm not stretching it out too much because there's a lot of length on top and there's a lot of weight, so I want to maintain that. But definitely if the top is short, you can stretch out the fade a bit more by taking that 0.5 higher. So I'm just flicking out that line with the clipper halfway open. Just as you see that cutting blade go through that line, you want to make sure you flick it out. Don't go too high into your 0.5, otherwise you're going to wipe out your 0.5 and you're going to struggle to fade it out at the end. Sometimes I even open up the blade again, and just to make sure the top of that line is a 0.5. So after this step, we just need to fade out that line. I'm going to be working down with my guards, but before I start my fade, I'm just going to go back with a number 2 quickly because I did use a number 3 at the beginning to remove the weight. Just working underneath the number 3, and now I'm set up ready for my fade. All I need to do now is to blend the 0.5 into the number 2. So starting off with a 1.5 guard, working down. I only got 3 guards to use to fade out this line, the 1.5 guard, the 1 guard and the 0.5 guard. So using the 1.5 guard, I'm just going to flick out just below the number 2. Make sure you take it high enough just below the 2 so you got enough space for the 1 and the 0.5 guard below it. So the 1.5 guard, this is going to set up your fade. Now moving on to the 1 guard. When fading down, this is the most important guard. This is going to connect the light to the dark. It's going to do most of the work for you. I call this the money guard. As you can see, Harry's got a very protruding occipital bone, so we're going to have to work around it, use the corners or the clippers to get into the dark spots to make it work. But between the 0.5 and the 2, the 1 guard, we're going to flick out around the middle in between them guards. As you can see, after the 1 guard, 80 to 90% of the fade should be complete. If it isn't, then you've done something wrong. You need to go back. It's either your 0.5 isn't done properly. Sometimes you wipe out the 0.5 when you're fading out the 0 line, or you just didn't use your guards correctly when fading down. Make sure you use enough pressure when you're fading through the line, and then when you're flicking out towards the top, that's when you want to use less pressure and flick out. I believe this is the easiest way to fade because you're only creating two lines, the 0 line, and then you blend that into the 0.5, and then the 0.5 you blend it into the 2 by working your way down with your guards. If you use each guard correctly, you can't go wrong. The 1.5 guard to set it up, to create some space, the money guard that does most of the work, and then you use your 0.5 guard just to refine and touch up any detailing, any little dark spots that you need. Your 0.5 guard should complete the fade. I believe this method of fading by fading down is perfect for these sorts of styles when you want to maintain that weight and keep that shape that you created at the beginning. It's also safer because you're not going above the number 2 that you started with. You're always working lower, fading into that line. Just make sure you use your guards correctly and you can't go wrong. Now that the fade is done, I'm just doing a bit of refining, a bit of detailing, using my old school number 1 guard just to get into them little dark areas, using the corners, trying to make this fade as buttery as I can. Now it's time for clipper over comb. Using my 45 degrees comb, as you can see, look, I'm angling that comb at 45 degrees, keeping as much weight as I can. This is not your usual clipper over comb. Normally you use them for more squarer shapes. This one is designed to pull the hair at 45 degrees to build up more shape, to give it that wedge look. When doing clipper over comb, you don't want to take loads off. Less is more. As you can see, I'm just dusting it off just above the clipper work to blend into the top. I don't want to affect the length on the top, and I don't really want to affect the fade as well. It's just that connection in between. So the blend is almost done. It would be rude not to finish off with a bit of scissor over comb to soften it. The blend is already looking good, but I'm just dusting off, giving it that scissor cut finish. Again, I'm going to be doing a full video on scissor over comb and clipper over comb in future episodes of basic barbering. Stay tuned. So right now I'm just checking the shape at the back, just seeing if there's any corners, and I'm just rounding it off, making sure the shape is nice and precise. Now time to texturize it, just to remove any weight or give it some texture in certain areas to customize it and make it into your own. Just a reminder guys, weekly videos dropping every Thursday 7 PM UK time. This part is dedicated to all the barbers that love using their thinning scissors or their thinning shearers. I'm not really a big fan of using these scissors, but in this case, it would be perfect to just soften and to remove a little bit more weight around the curvature. Now that the haircut is done, let's move on to the beard. We're going all out today. We're doing a full haircut tutorial. We're gonna make sure Harry's looking fresh by the time he leaves. I think he told me he's linking a couple things, so I had to make sure he's looking fresh. So for the beard, he wanted it shorter, but he still wanted to maintain that darkness, so we went for a number 4, and I just blended that into the sides. So it was a little bit shorter on the sideburns, and I just shaped it up and tried to make it look as sharp and presentable as possible. keeping the shape on the tash as natural as possible. I call it the tash, I don't know what you guys call it, but yeah, keeping that nice and natural. And I'm just using a razor to sharpen up the edges. On this side here, Harry did it himself and he took it a little bit low, so I just kept it nice and natural. Bit of backhand on this side of the tash. I always tell my clients to puff their cheeks out. It just makes it easier to shave and gives you better angles. A little bit of styling powder. It's time to style him up, make him look wavy. Put a bit of pomade in the top as well. And you can see he's feeling it. He's checking himself out. That's a good sign. Now using a pompadour comb to set it into position. Finishing it off, locking it in with a bit of hairspray and a bit of alcohol spray just to kill any diseases or any viruses that you don't need. But yo, that's it guys. Thank you so much for watching again. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. A few more days guys before we can open up our barbershops in the UK. We're almost there, so stay strong, stay fresh, stay faded, stay safe. It's your boy Barber Jase. Peace.